What's your reporting on the time period, however long it was, 30 hours, maybe, 40, between the Jacksonville Jaguars splitting the uprights, or I guess maybe even 70 hours, between the Jaguars splitting the uprights and the Chargers Twitter account tweeting out that they've let Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator, and the quarterbacks and passing coordinator go? What's your reporting there on that?
Well, I don't think Dean Spanos was ever serious about firing Brandon Staley. And I think that both Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton would have loved that job to come open, as would anybody else looking for a head coaching job in the NFL. I just don't think Spanos ultimately wanted to do it. You got to buy out Staley. You got to go buy the new coach. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be risky. And you can look at that glass and you can regard it as half full with the Chargers. Now, it was empty enough that Joe Lombardi and Shane Day had to go, which you quickly start chasing your tail on this because, okay, whatever it was that caused them to fire the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach, why does that not result in Brandon Staley being fired? Because he's in a position where he could have intervened to try to improve whatever it was they were doing week in and week out, game in and game out. He's ultimately responsible. And you could say, as to Lombardi and Day, well, there were a lot of injuries and maybe Herbert's ribs weren't right for weeks. Okay, fine. If it's an excuse for Staley, it should be an excuse for them. It feels like what Mike Ehrmantraut once cautioned Walter White against, Rich, and you know what it is. No half measures. It feels like a half measure.
It does, doesn't it? It does. It just feels like, but I also have to sit here and think that they already know the price tag on Justin Herbert's new contract that's going to be asked for now, right? I mean, like that. If you're Justin Herbert's agent, I mean, how quickly do you call Tom Telesco and say season's over? Let's talk about his new contract after 3 years. I mean,
I think it's time.
Right?
It's just a matter of it. Now, they may want to see what happens with some of these others. Does Jalen Hurts get a new deal?
Burrow, obviously.
Does Burrow get his deal? The window's open for anyone who has completed 3 regular seasons. Burrow could actually get one now. His season doesn't have to be over. It's as soon as the regular season ends. And I'm waiting for the day that a long-term deal gets done with a guy 3 years in during the playoffs, because you're still carrying that injury risk as the quarterback of the team, and we see how he gets banged around. But, yeah, I may want to get some other data points, but Justin Herbert is going to make a lot of money eventually. He seems like I don't want to imply that it's wrong to try to get every dollar, because I'm a firm believer that you should try to get every last dollar when you're a football player with a finite number of years and the constant physical risk. And we saw what happened to DeMar Hamlin. You should get everything you can. I just don't think Justin Herbert is going to demand every last penny to the detriment of having a team around him, because look at what happened this year with the team when guys were injured. And that would be my desire. If I was Justin Herbert, if I was ownership of that team, if I was anybody connected in any way, shape, or form to the Chargers, I would want to do a deep dive, Rich, into why it's always something with us when it comes to injuries. I've said, and this is a dated reference that I think you're old enough to understand, they are the Rosanna-Danas of the NFL,
Nice.
and that it's always something with the Chargers. When it comes to injuries, I'd want to figure out what it is, what are we doing wrong. It can't just be bad luck. Too many guys get pretzeled around in every possible position while playing football, and they pop up and they keep going. There's something deeper going on with the Chargers, and they need to get it fixed.
Well, you went early season SNL. Yesterday, we on this program went Costanza, that, if their instinct is always wrong, do the opposite, and just go up to Sean Payton, the pretty girl at the counter, and say, I'm the Los Angeles Chargers. I have trouble making the playoffs or winning there, and I live with my parents, and see what goes. But that clearly isn't happening. I mean, and we'll see what happens when Justin Herbert signs on the dotted line, because if he doesn't before the season, that would be quite something. That would be another aspect. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.